Hey, Honey Wash Day. This is Toksa Hour. Hey, guess what? Today, or actually, I think it was yesterday, Toksa Hour was born. We are celebrating 5 years of Toksa Hour, bringing us news from Porcupine, South Dakota, all the way around the world. And I want to thank people. I know we made the transition to YouTube. On Facebook, we had people from around the world. We were pretty global. We had people that followed and watched Doksha Hour. And so now, as we start the process of rebuilding our platform, not so much rebranding because Doksha Hour is what it is, Doksha Hour. I've been working on a jingle for Doksha Hour, and I'm kind of let's see if I can kind of share this here. Oh, where's my share button? So this is my jingle, kind of my jingle. So I've been working with my friend Chat because I've been asking people to help me and nothing. So I said, this is what I'd like. And so Chat is even going to make a jingle for me, like put music to it. But this is our celebratory event. Doksha Hour, rise and shine, prairie voices, medicine minds. From the res to the world, we speak truth and power. It's Sunday morning. Welcome to Doksha Hour. Doksha Hour. The prairie rose blooms with power. Yeah. So, anyways, this is our fifth year on streaming, podcasting, whatever they may call it. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of our efforts. I am. I I've been wanting to do a lot of different things, and it's been kind of inhibiting because people oftentimes, and it's not even like I would be willing to pay people to help me, what little I can, because I've paid for the for that, for our logo, and it's just really, really hard. It's hard to get people to want, and local people, anyways. That's what I found. But because I've been transitioning into a different place like YouTube and looking at like Substack and where Doksha Hour can thrive, podcasting, I was almost gonna go to Spotify. But then I'm like, oh, Spotify just invested in some stuff, war stuff against, that they use it, weapons that they use against Palestine. So I guess I can't do Spotify. I even have to delete my Spotify app and quit. I just got to get away from them. So I might be back to, I don't even remember the other one that I used to do, Pan. I don't remember what it's called, but a different place. So it's really exciting. It's for me, it's very exciting. I was making or I'm ordering cups, and for those of my followers, the people who have subscribed and come along this journey with me, you should email me. You should email me at dokshahour at gmail.com. Email me there. Um, because I would like to send you a gift. And so I would just need your information. So if you can email me there, and then I'm doing the Gmail thing and I'm doing the YouTube thing, and then I'm finding out like all this stuff again. It's like I got away from Facebook because Facebook was doing all of this horrible stuff. And then now people are calling out Google for what they're doing, and Google owns YouTube and the silencing of voices, even in searches. You look for something and it doesn't want to give you the search. And so there's some information that came out on Google where they entered into an agreement with Israel to help with suppression. So, and then they're helping them with surveillance is what it is, surveillance and then suppression. It's very, very gross, people, very, very gross. And they act like we don't know, that we're not going to find out. It's really interesting, like how crazy the billionaire class is, and how they're manipulating the world. And we know that there's truth in time of propaganda. That the Palestine, our speech, and the narrative of war. Like we know this. And so this is the purpose of like Toksa Hour. A lot of the times we focus on our local issues. But right now I've been feeling like it's really important to be focusing on this issue of Palestine because it affects us and we see it. So all the years Toksa Hour and prior to Toksa Hour, when I was writing for Black Hills People's News, and just being in our community and trying to find voice and express these things that we learned and we knew, that the narratives are controlled, and that there's a lot of things that work against us, that no matter how much we try to bring change. And so right now it's just like boom, blown open for us. We can see it. We can see the power and control that the billionaire class has over us, and that they don't care. They basically just want us to be quiet and work and give them our tax dollars. That's what they want. To make us give them, pay them. And then the realization on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, we struggle and we suffer. We suffer with we suffer and struggle with healthcare issues, with education issues. We suffer with economic development, housing. We have social issues. We have all of those things that we struggle and we suffer. And so now we know is because we give all our money to Israel. And people want to be, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And we're going to give them some more. Like Trump is vying for $6 billion more for Israel for them to buy weapons. It's like, what else can you destroy in Gaza? You destroyed everything, Trump. Netanyahu, you guys destroyed everything. I was going to start calling them Benny and Donnie. Hey, getting tired of Benny and Donnie. They need to behave. And so we see that. So what's the response? What is our response? Like, we know we have tribal councils that have passed resolutions that support the Palestinian people, that call for the end of the war against them, or the genocide. It's not even a war, it's a genocide against the Palestinian people. So we know that tribal nations have done that. We know that tribal people, Indigenous people, are heavily involved with bringing peace for them, ending this, and then helping them. Like, we are the most compassionate people on this, as we look at, I shouldn't say most, but we are very compassionate about starving children and the abuse of the elderly, because for Lakota people, we hold them dear. The children are our future, and our elders are our past. And so our stories are important. So the voice of our elders are important. And then our children are important because they're going to take us into the future, so that we remain on earth, that there will always be Lakota people. There will always be Palestinian people. There will always be Indigenous people. Like, the mindset of the colonial person is it's a disease. One time I was teaching, um, one time I was teaching up in Eagle Butte, and I was teaching we were talking about, um, hey, next I'm gonna even forget. But we were talking about like, um, invasive species. We were talking about invasive species. And invasive species are things that aren't from the natural, the area, the region, and then they, when they're planted or they come, they invade, and then they're all over and they take over and then they kill other life. And so we were talking about invasive species, and so they were talking about the cow and things like that. And then it got real deep at the end of, like, as we're going through all of this, and they were in their group work, doing their group work, and they said that white people were, the Washichu was invasive. And I was like, wow, that wasn't the goal of this class, but wow. And these were 10th graders. So like having 10th graders understand that concept. And so it's really, really important. Like we could be just run over, everybody can be run over by this mentality of imperialism, colonialism, supremacy, thinking that because of the color of your skin that you are more intelligent. And then you're going through this process of obliterating people, you're obliterating people, and then claiming that they are inhumane, that they are savages, that they are nothing. And I'll take this all the way to Palestine. You look at Palestine, and the history of the Middle East, or um of that region. I'm trying to quit calling it Middle East after I watched this lady talk about how it became known as the Middle East, because it's classified Middle East because of colonialism, the British colonies. And so they say the Far East is India because they had colonies in India, and then the Middle East is the area of Palestine and Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That's the Middle East, and so in that direction from them, and then the West. So she always suggests that we, like the United States would be considered from the Arab countries, that it would be Middle West, and the United States would be far west. Anyway, so we got to figure those things out, like how all of this is impacting us. And we know, like, the Palestinian people were, their thoughts, their creation, their study, they're a part of Western, what they label Western civilization. Egypt, Western civilization. North Africa, though, all of that, Western civilization. And then the expansion going westward. So they went, their migration, or however they want to say. And what did they use for the westward expansion? They used religion. They used religion. So that's where you get the Crusades. Like, they're fighting with the Muslims. And the Jewish people were pretty, I mean, they're mistreated throughout time, but these guys are all in their cultural belief of birth, they all come from the same people. I mean, the same mindset, the same frame. They come from Judaism. They're born from that. And so they call it the Abrahamic beliefs. Not all religion comes from that, or not all belief systems come from that, but it's those three that are having the hardest time of getting along. And so this is where we're at. And the Palestinian people, I feel so bad for them, because even the Muslim world isn't even fighting for them. The only ones are the Yemenis, and then there was the Houthis in Lebanon. But now there's not even any of them. The Syrians would help them too, but not no more in Iran or Iran. Say it correctly. Anyways, but So that's how we get to where we're at. This is the propaganda places that we're in, and this is the control of the world. This is what we're faced with. And so as we think about where we're going, how we're going, um, hmm, um, anyway, so as we think about all of this stuff and how it affects us, so as I was saying in my jingle, I'm going to turn this all into a song. I might make a song, but where it's talking about coming, like I'm the creek. I always talk about the creek. This was something that I used to say, talk about Creekside. So here we are living alongside the creek of Porcupine. And this was a time when Julie Twigo used to, do this show with me. And so we talk about Creekside and bringing the information down the creek. Well, the creek goes into White River, and the White River is a tributary to the Missouri River. And the Missouri River is a tributary to the Mississippi River. And the Mississippi is a tributary to the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico is a tributary to the Pacific Ocean. So thinking about how news travels and how it's starts locally in communities. Anyways, my granddaughter's up and making a lot of noise. So sorry, I had to mute to try to talk to her. Anyway, so now we're moving on, and we're thinking about what is going on in regards to stopping all of this. So I was telling you earlier that Donald Trump and the Republican Party and probably the Democrats, they're all vying to give Netanyahu, I mean Satanyahu, I mean Benny, give him $6 billion more for weapons. And they're cutting us, right? Like we're going to lose our health care, we're going to lose, all these different things are going on for us. So they're going to give our money to them. So what happened on Friday? The United Nations met, the General Assembly. There was a motion for a ceasefire that was again blocked by the United States. And so there's no ceasefire. Donald Trump is an avid supporter, and people should know that Donald Trump avidly supports the annihilation, the massacre, the genocide, the expulsion, the extermination of the Palestinian people. He supports that 100% because he wants our tax dollars to go to do that. $6 billion is what he's trying to do. Anyways, the General Assembly voted on Friday to recognize Palestinian as a state. And so it's taken this long, and the complete devastation of Gaza, hundreds of thousands of loss of life, that finally some political leaders within the world are saying we're not going to do this, and it's taking like the Western worlds. That's why it's like really devastating for me to think about the Arab nations like not really coming to the defense. Like they have all these backdoor deals that came out, that with Israel. So they're still funding them oil, they're still funding them all these different things and their trade markets and stuff, like not even the Arab nations. And so like I wonder, like, are the Palestinians different then? Because like the Israeli people will say they're all Arabs, call the Palestinian people Arabs. But the Arab people don't even, like the governments anyways, are not even defending them or helping them. They are not coming to their aid. Like I said, it was the Houthis and the Yemenis. So looking at how do we then recognize these things? And we think about that from a Lakota perspective. Even as Indigenous peoples, like we've gone to the United Nations and we have asked for recognition, we have asked for the upholding of our treaties and so forth, and it was always voted down. Like the United States would make all these deals to make sure it's voted down. So the United States would vote it down, Germany would vote it down, Britain would vote it down, France would vote it down. Like all of those countries would vote it down. And so then, hold on. And it's just going to be uncooperative. So, so when we think about that, so what does it mean? So what does it mean when we think about what our rights are as Indigenous people if they don't recognize Palestinian rights? And then if they're going to recognize Palestinian rights, will they eventually one day recognize Indigenous rights? So these are really important things that we need to be paying attention to. And I know that we have a lot of things going on in our communities right now. We have a lot of things going on with our tribal councils right now. But at some of us have to be looking over here and saying, hey, what is this going to do, or what does this mean? Because we need to have some resolution. We need to ensure that we're not going to lose our sovereignty or our treaties and so forth. So when we think about that, and then also when we think about how like as Lakota people, we always talk about Midakoye Oyasi. Meaning that we are all related. We're related to everything, not just human beings, but we're related to everything on this planet, even in the stars, like because we say we come from them, right? And so when we think about what is it we're doing, how do we fight for our recognition, all of those things. Like we're supposed to be relatives. You're our relative. We claim you as our relative. And this is something that I've always expressed, like with the Palestinian people, because when we were the Oglala Sioux tribe, or the members, the American Indian movement had occupied Wounded Knee, the Palestinian Authority recognized, and they sent letter of support saying that they supported the recognition or what we were doing. And so as brothers and sisters, as relatives, we want to do that. We want to be recognizing, supporting each other wherever and whenever we can. So one of the things that came out in the UN resolution, or where they want to recognize Palestine as a state and let them join the United Nations, is this conversation about where they went to also criticize Hamas. Hamas is the ruling authority within Gaza, and it's all documented. It's in history that Hamas was also funded by Israel. So Israel wanted Hamas to take power in Gaza to break the power structure and influence of the PA. And so that's what they did. And so Gaza people voted for Hamas. Anyways, so on October 7th, there's a lot of backstory that never gets told. It's just almost like magically October 7th happened. Everything was wonderful and beautiful here. But that's not the truth, like that, the narrative. So who controls that narrative? And we know this. We know this through propaganda. We know this through colonization. We know this through imperialism, oppression, that the people who are being oppressed do not control the narrative. So the oppressor controls. They're not even, they say the victor, the spoils go to the victor. But you're not the victor because you don't fight fairly. You're a bully. Anyways, so on October 7th, the narrative was that Hamas came out of Palestine or out of Gaza and went over and they annihilated 1,200 people, and they were telling stories about beheaded children, raping, all of that, and that wasn't even true. So the cover up of that story. So it's now coming out from Israel itself. The Haaretz is reporting out. Other newspapers are reporting out the testimonies from Israeli soldiers where they're saying that they were given a directive to stand down on October 7th on the border there, to stand down. And then I forget the Gates or Gotts, I forget how he says his name, but he comes out he's the leader of the IDF, and he says that he gave this Hannibal Directive. And so the Hannibal Directive in Israel means that you unalive or you kill everybody, even your own, so that they can't take hostages or whatever. They can't manipulate. So you kill everybody. And so they blame Hamas for that. Even the United Nations coming out saying that, but that's not accurate. That's not accurate because you get the story from the people on the ground. They will talk about these Apache helicopters, all of that coming in, and who actually was responsible for the mass deaths on October 7th. So there's that. And so when we think about that stuff, again, we go to the narratives. What is the narrative? So what did they do in the American Indian movement? What did they do even in 1890? What did they do? The ghost dance, they were afraid of it. All these things, so the narrative, they control that narrative because they were the ones writing the story. But we all hold the story. It's like in our genes. We pass it down from one generation to the next. That's why they always also want to say that we are not literate. They put the emphasis in writing. And then they say storytelling. Storytelling is myth. Like there's no they devalue the construct of storytelling and how those stories are passed down from generation to generation. And so then it gives them more power to tell their story. I have to kill flies while I'm sitting here, sorry. Anyway, so that's how the victor, so they say the victor writes the history. They get to tell the story. And it's always full of lies. And this is the big movement of the white supremacists right now, is to take this story, take where we're at today and go backwards to tell their story, because they don't like it that they're being held accountable today in this world, that the white supremacists, that oppression, colonialism, imperialism is being held accountable. They don't like that. So they want to turn it back, and you have all these billionaires. You have all these billionaires that are controlling the narrative because they have the money and the influence to give money to people. And so you see Israel is giving money to influencers to change the narrative. Their target and their focus is our youth. And so that's why Charlie Kirk matters. That's why Charlie Kirk and what he was doing matters, because they're putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into a youth movement to hold a narrative that is false. And so when Charlie Kirk comes out and says, I'm not being able to do this, like when he starts to question it, and then he does his Turning Point conference. And what does he do? He has Tucker Carlson on his agenda, and Tucker Carlson just outright calls everything out, and even says that if you are an American citizen serving for another country's army, you should be deported. Like, you should be removed from this country. You should lose your citizenship. That's what he says. Because right now we know that American citizens that share dual citizenship with the state of Israel, they are going over there and they are a part of this genocide. And then they get the luxury of coming back to America and acting like nothing. And so now you're seeing like this huge Palestine movement, and those Israeli soldiers are coming out. So there was one in California that came out and tried to fight someone over a Palestinian flag. He was an Israeli soldier. And so we see all of this stuff. It's just coming, and it's coming out. So what are they after now? They're after our free speech. Donnie is going to use it, like he's got this real fragile ego, right? We know this. He has a fragile ego. And so we know that he is going to be doing things to people. And so when they want to quiet Charlie Kirk, when they want to do this, watch this. I'm going to show you guys this. Let's see if I can get this up. And I want to specifically kind of play this on here to save it, because TikTok is going crazy with taking stuff down. And so here will be some evidence of this existing. I need to optimize for sharing, it says.
Competes in Miss USA, a pageant owned by ... Trump. Okay, want to know something really weird? So she had said in a podcast that she had never competed in pageants and had never done any modeling before until in the mail to become a model and start doing pageants. And the pageants that she started doing were Miss USA pageants owned by Trump. So she modeled for Trump. She was one of Trump's pageant girls. But did you know that she was also a casting director at the same time that she was doing all of this stuff for Trump? Now, she doesn't specify on her website if she worked as a casting director for Trump, but around the time that she was claiming to be a casting director, she also owned a ministry that was working with the U.S. military in Romania. The area in Romania where she was operating this ministry had a bunch of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in the UK, in Israel, and were also being sent to undisclosed private islands. Locals demanded authorities look into it, but they never did. Now, Charlie Kirk really wanted the Epstein files released, but did his wife? Prior to marrying Charlie Kirk, she was a multi-millionaire on her own, and since his passing, she's also amassed all of his wealth plus an additional at least $5 million in donations. She's currently considered the most powerful woman in the United States, with mega fans begging her to run as vice president in 2028. Let's talk about their first date, because it was actually a job interview. Back in 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump had started working with Charlie Kirk had hosted a Turning Point USA opening event for one of the offices that they had opened. And Erica and Charlie Kirk were introduced to each other. Charlie Kirk instantly thought that she was beautiful, but thought that she was really smart. And allegedly, one of their mutuals had suggested that Charlie Kirk hire Erica. I'm assuming it was Donald Trump or someone on his team, because Donald Trump had signed on to work with Charlie Kirk, and Erica was already one of Donald Trump's employees. So it would make the most sense for Donald Trump and his team to encourage Charlie Kirk to hire Donald Trump's employees. Anyways, Charlie Kirk DM'd Erica, invited her for a job interview. The job interview ended up turning into a date, and Erica allegedly had said, "You're not going to be my boss, you're going to be my boyfriend." It just seems suspicious.
Yeah, it seems suspicious. And so we have these things that are like occurring or coming out in regards to what is happening with with Charlie Kirk and all of the conspiracy or whatever that goes with it. And so we're all we've all been forced into becoming investigators into the matter, because we're all realizing that there's a narrative that is a lie. It's not the truth. And they're covering something up. And what could it be? And so we know that there's so many things connected back to Trump and the Epstein files. And so people are still saying, release the Epstein files, even though you guys, are conspiring or doing really odd things allegedly. So Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly are really close friends of Charlie Kirk. And yes, Charlie Kirk has said some really crazy things and has a really weird belief system. There's a high school, what do you call it, a high school friend or someone that knew Charlie Kirk from high school that came out and was saying that Charlie Kirk himself was upset. Like he wasn't so bad, but his mind changed when he was trying to get into West Point, and he didn't get in. He didn't get accepted to West Point, and so somebody had put it in his mind that he did not get into West Point because some Black person took it from him, some minority took it from him, and so that was the thing. Because he really wanted to get into West Point. And so that's how they changed his narrative. And so then he became this person. And so if you follow those processes of how things happen, how they come out, and who's behind, who's the man behind the curtain? Who's the man behind the curtain? And so there's also the Netanyahu or Satanyahu. Benny. I keep forgetting his name, saying it right. But anyways, he keeps putting out this narrative, like these posts and statements and interviews, like him and Charlie Kirk are best friends, kind of. And about how Charlie Kirk, he's gonna, gives him money and was promising him more money and whatever, but it was all because of the youth. He had 3.1 million youth that followed him. I think it was 3.1, 3.8. Anyways, he had a lot of youth that followed him. So Charlie Kirk supporters. And so that's what they were after. They didn't want to have Charlie Kirk then poison their minds, because they were already, if you listen to the Tucker Carlson speech that he gives at Turning Point, they are cheering. They are cheering when he said, puts this America First agenda up, and about American citizens serving in the IDF, that they should be lose their citizenship, and the audience cheers. Free Palestine, the audience cheers. When they raised the question of the genocide in Gaza, because the youth they convince about the right to life, right? And everything against abortion, that every child has a right to live, all of that. And then the youth on TikTok are watching the genocide of children, the bombing of children, of babies, watching all of that. And then of pregnant women, like this IDF tank running over a pregnant woman, reversing back over, running back over, reversing, and that baby pops out of her stomach. She dies, the baby dies. Yeah. So sorry for the graphic details. I apologize. I didn't show it to you though. It was gross. Horrific. Angry, maddening. That's why I'm like this. Anyway, so now what are they doing? The move to get Jimmy Kimmel, right? They're going after Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, free speech, and Charlie Kirk. They already silenced Charlie Kirk, so now they need to silence the comedic relief on late night. So any comedian that's going to be coming after Trump or coming after anything that they're doing, and this is just within the past, maybe 3 months, that tide has really shifted and changed, because last year at the Emmys, last year at the Oscars, last year at whatever, Free Palestine was completely blocked. People were screaming at you. Remember Kamala Harris at one of her events? People were screaming at the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian people, remember? So the tide has changed. You see a lot of the Democrats like starting to pull back, and the Democrats actually have the Senate. Senator Merkel has brought a bill to end the genocide of Gaza and to recognize Palestine as a state, the two-state solution. And so he has to work, and there's I think 7 other senators right now that are supporting it. So it's changing. It's a slow change, but it's changing. And it's really crazy because, like, as we know right now, like, the heat is amped up so bad. Like, they are forcing the universities to turn over lists of names of pro-Palestinian faculty and students, and they're guising it under anti-Semitism. So they're asking for them to do that, and then it's like they're calling it the new McCarthyism, because Berkeley, University of Berkeley, or Berkeley University, anyways, Berkeley in California turned over the list. So they're all turning over and turning, like anything so that Trump will give them money. And so that's the big thing of silencing us. It's like, well, if we give you that money, then you got to be quiet, or you got to turn over the list. You got to do this. And so Candace Owens comes out with let me just play her. She comes out with some really, I suggest you go follow Candace Owens on YouTube. She is on YouTube. Follow her. She talks about a lot of different things. I've been following her. Do I agree with her every step of the way? Not really, but I think it's very interesting of the reporting process that we go through. Let me see.
Okay, so that's what he said. Whether or not you think insensitive joke, okay, I don't think that would have been the justification for saying that he now needs to donate to charity and lose his whole life. And this is what happened. He's taken off air, and some people are saying, hey, Candace, they did this to us. And you're not wrong, right? If you are on the right and you are saying that when the whole George Floyd thing happened, people lost their jobs for saying sensible things or making a joke, you are correct. Like, you are right to say, yes, that absolutely did happen. But if you're not recognizing that when you just flip the coin, it's the same people that are gaining more power, I just want the attacks on free speech to stop, okay? I want the reaction, if you're angry about what Jimmy Kimmel said, is for the free markets to take him out, right? He doesn't have a show because nobody's watching him anymore because they're so disgusted by what he said. That's what I want. I want us to be in control, right, of where we spend our dollars, of what we're saying, and not like the government to press a button and say, you lose everything because we don't like what you said. And it should be noted, by the way, that in the same monologue, he did call the murder senseless. The day that it happened, Jimmy Kimmel posted a message on Instagram sending love to the Kirk family, to the victims of gun violence. He posted, instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it's horrible and monstrous to shoot another person? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. You wouldn't have thought that he had posted that in terms of everyone that were just like strip him of everything. And I want to be clear, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel, right? I think he is a part of the radical left. The people that are constantly shouting, I don't like him at all. But I'm just recognizing that our solution to being angry at each other always seems to be, let's give the government more power, right? Let's give the government more power. And that's what happened here, okay? The chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, jumped up and he criticized Jimmy Kimmel's remarks. He threatened federal action against ABC affiliates who carried the show? What? Federal action if you carry the Jimmy Kimmel show? Does that seem right to you? Okay. Again, if you're on the right and you cheered this on, do you understand? We never, ever, ever should be applauding federal action when it comes to speech. Okay. We're all losing. Okay. So that's what he said. Whether or not you think insensitive.
So, so there's a big part of that, right? Like, looking at, like, do we have a right to say something, and what is, like the way they're framing it around hate speech. But yet they would not. I mean, there's a whole bunch of hate speech in or speaking, whole bunch of hate speech of Charlie Kirk, right? Like when it goes to Floyd. Remember, he was killed in Minneapolis, and then they, the what was it? The BLM, Black Lives Matters movement, George Floyd. And it's really crazy because the United States or the Senate passed a bill or a recognition calling October 14th the memorializing Charlie Kirk. And did you know that October 14th, I believe, is when George Floyd died? So it's probably not going to go the way they wanted it to go. It's probably going to be sounding very different. But I do follow Candace Owens on YouTube. I do listen to Tucker Carlson when I get chance. Not so much Megyn Kelly. I just don't have time for that. I do try to go listen to different points of view. Like, what are they saying? What are they talking about? And then how do they look at that information? Because it might be different than what I do. And so I'm always trying to consider, put consideration, and I don't need to be speaking in any way to lessen the change of Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, or Charlie Kirk, because we all come through the process. We all grow. And as we open our minds and take down our defenses, we get to a place where we can see others as human beings, and that we are all struggling. And so there's a lot of people that say things about Candace Owens because she's a Black woman and she opposes, opposed Black Lives Matters, and she kind of always spoke on the conservative right side. And there are a lot of Black people that are conservatives. And so, but it doesn't mean that, like, when we get to the place of recognizing that the left and the right are just the opposite side of the same coin, then are the same bird, the opposite wings of the same bird, whatever, like it's the same thing. And so the realization that we are all being controlled by the billionaire class in the whole world, the billionaire class. And when you say stuff like that, then they want to call you anti-Semitic. When you're saying that it is the billionaire class is controlling the world. Because when you go look at who the billionaire class is, they're Zionists. A good majority of them are Zionists. And so they support this effort. And they fund it. They fund it. They fund it. They fund it. So we get to this place of talking about TikTok, their new guidelines. They went into effect. So TikTok is becoming G-rated over censorship of the Palestinian resistance. Like I was saying throughout today's show, that the youth are heavily on TikTok. And if you can recall, some time back, the ADL said we have a TikTok problem and a Gen Z problem, because Gen Z is on TikTok. And so that's the dismantling of TikTok. And it's horrible to see, very sad, because, people have built a platform on TikTok and do very well. You have people that have millions of followers. And so then their stuff can start being flagged. You could lose your account. You can lose your monetization, all of that. And that's horrible. I really think TikTok users need to come together and file a suit against TikTok and what is happening, because TikTok they're making these agreements just so that they can stay in the United States, but at what expense? Like, we lose our free speech on that app. I'm there. I barely have, I'm not a big person, big influencer. I have like almost 8,000 followers. That's a lot for me. And most of them are Palestinian. They're people from Palestine, that I'm trying to help support, get them some food or whatever, spread their voice around TikTok. And so I don't know, that's a real saddening thing that's happening. And then it's just like they're so afraid of the truth that they're doing everything in their power to suppress the truth, to suppress your voice, my voice, the Palestinian voice, minority voice, everything. So even like how, if anybody even talked about Charlie Kirk in a negative way, man, they're pulling your information and they're sending it to your boss. And JD Vance is spearheading that. Fire them. And so people are losing their jobs. I mean, it happened in South Dakota. A faculty member at the University of South Dakota lost his job. Art teacher lost his job because he made a post. He wasn't a fan of Charlie Kirk, made a post about it, about his death. Boom. They took him out. And that's what I keep saying. Like, even the white people in the state of South Dakota, like, you're not safe. It's all turning, like the MAGAs are turning on each other. There's that's going to fall apart probably here soon. We are not safe as Indigenous people, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people in the state of South Dakota. There's things that we have to be careful of. They talk about ICE. I called John Thune some time ago about this whole ICE issue, and I said, what happens if they arrest me? They arrest me, accusing me of being an illegal alien, and then try to deport me. Who's going to help me? And they laughed. They laughed about it and said, they thought I was ridiculous. If they arrest you, call our office and we will get you out. Really? Really? Like, what if nobody knows I'm arrested? What if they just think I'm a MMIW, And then they send me to Sudan, because that's the agreement. They're trying to send them to Sudan and Congo, Somalia, to send people American citizens that they want to deport. That's where they want to send them. But now we're seeing and watching, like, they're going to come after you too, my dear MAGA neighbors. They're coming for you too once you start trying to speak up. Once you disagree, because they did it to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is no longer here. So rest in peace too. Anyways. So again, today is the celebration of Toksa Hour. Oh my God, these flies. 5 years. We've been here for 5 years. And I wished I had time. I mean, I've been working with it, trying to create the jingle for the song and whatnot. But I didn't get there yet. That was going to be my big surprise today, is I was going to have a song and whatnot. Shoot. I'm trying to share again. So again, this is like a little bit of my jingle. I'm going to make a professional sound of it. Toksa Hour, rise and shine, prairie voices, medicine minds, from the res to the world, we speak truth and power. It's Sunday morning. Welcome to Toksa Hour. Toksa Hour. The prairie rose blooms with power. So Chat GPT kind of helped me with the image and stuff. you could see my creek, the Porcupine Creek. And the prairie rose and our buffalo. I should have told it to make maybe I might tell it to put a turtle in there, maybe a turtle swimming down that creek or something, because I'm a turtle woman. If Lakota people had clans, I'd probably be in the turtle clan. And then again, I ordered cups. I have some Toksa Hour cups that I was hoping I'd have now. But I would like those of you that have followed Toksa Hour to email me. And Toksa Hour email is toksahour@gmail.com. Email me there. Because I would like to get your email, not your email, your mailing address, so I could send something to you. And yes, Raymond, you too. I'll send it to Britain. Raymond watches from Great Britain, so I will send you a gift to Great Britain. I don't know if they'll make me pay tariff. Anyway, so we're celebrating 5. We are 5 at Toksa Hour, and we are still going strong. We're building our platform on YouTube, and we're also on Substack. So we're building our platform on Substack, and it's under, let me pull that up too. So we are, oh, why is my computer so slow? Let's get the share up. Okay, so we are Maggie Ross at Red Flower on Substack. And so all the different things that I have up, I share out our Toksa Hour on Substack as well. There's a way that I can go live on Substack with Toksa Hour. I haven't figured it out yet, but we'll eventually get there. But this is, you can follow me over there. I'm doing writing stuff there as well. So yeah. Anyways, you guys have a super great day. Thank you very much for tuning in, watching. I appreciate every one of you. I pray that we have brighter days, and I pray that the Creator stops what's happening in Gaza and it frees them, and that the Creator will give them life. Let them live. Let Gaza live. That should be our chant. Let them live. We should have songs for them. Let them live. We should be calling our representatives. Let Gaza live. Because if Gaza lives, we live. And that's our relationship. That's our relationship. And we need to understand that as Lakota people, the Palestinians are our relatives. Those babies are our relatives. So let's do what we can to help them bring an end to this and give them life. Guys, be blessed. Don't shock.